Hey guys, I have a real treat for you today. I got to sit down with the awesome Yossi Bensoussan, who is doing amazing things in the world. He's helping tons and tons of people, even though he's stuck in middle America, but we do discuss that. He's not stuck. He loves it there. We had a great conversation. It was an honor to talk to him. He's doing awesome stuff. You guys will enjoy it. It got personal, got beautiful. My only thing is that this was supposed to come out right after the holidays. Obviously, the Jewish nation has gone through such an absolute horror after the holidays that we pushed it off. So this was recorded before the holidays. I hope you enjoy. I sure did.
1, 2, 3. Hello and welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast. And now, your host, Sonny Perlman.
Alive.
I'm so happy to do this.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't get this excited for my own podcast, by the way.
I'm so happy. By the way, I'd much rather be on other people's podcasts than my
Oh
own.
yeah, for
Is
sure.
that weird?
Yeah, no, not at all.
I love being on other people's podcasts because there's no pressure and I just have to answer questions.
Right.
Or whatever. Okay, so first of all, I'm so happy to have you. I'm going to do a whole intro later.
Yeah.
So whatever. So we don't have to
Oh
do
yeah,
that
thank
right
you.
now.
Thank you for not doing that in front of
Yeah,
me, by the
thank
way.
you.
I
While we're
really
here.
appreciate that.
But I will say that I've been chasing you since I started.
Yeah.
And it's not because you don't want to be on the podcast.
At
I don't
all.
think.
At all.
It's because you live in Cleveland.
Hi.
Okay, we should discuss
Yeah,
that. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
no. It's a great place to start. I do. I live in Cleveland, and it's just I don't know. I think you did something because literally ever since I think the first time you asked me to be on the podcast, I haven't come back to Muncie.
That was it. You're like,
There was not a single opportunity to come back around, so it was over for me.
If you knew you're here, I'm gonna catch you.
I would have loved it.
Oh my God.
I would have loved it. Also, if I do a podcast, especially if I'm going to do it with you, I can't be traveling with my family. You know what I mean? Like I can't have that in my head that like I got to get back to the kids, you know, because we're not at home. You know, we got to get back to the.
That's right.
You know, I want to be able to take my time over here,
Okay.
getting to meet with Sonny. Big stuff,
Yes. And I know you guys forever.
right?
So-
This goes back in the day.
Back in the day.
This goes very, very far back in the
Yeah.
day.
I don't know how much I could say.
No.
But
This goes all the way back to Avi.
back to Avi. And actually, Duvi was my brother's counselor. Did you know that?
I actually didn't. Kiwi?
No, Ellie.
Really?
Duvi was Ellie's counselor. And I met a guy the other day. He said Duvi was his counselor too. Like, that's
Yeah, Davi was a popular counselor. We're talking about a counselor in camp.
counselor camp. That's right. Camp Narum. Did you
You should have been the one to clarify that.
Because I asked your cousin. He said, you guys are not a Camp Narum family.
No,
But I was in Camp Narum with your family.
we were. It's not true. We were. When he was around, when my cousin Simcha was around, we weren't. We were in
switched
Romamu
over.
then.
You were in Romamu.
We were in
Okay,
Romamu
okay.
then.
I was like,
Before that, we were in, not we, Avi and Duvi, maybe Ari a little bit, were in Narum. But by the time I came around, I'm a lot younger than
You are-
everyone. No one
You're like
no one
5
knows.
years younger?
Then Avi, yeah. Probably about 5 or
Wait, so
6
I
years
have a
younger than
question, 'cause
Avi.
we have similar families.
4
in a
years
weird
younger than
sense.
Ari. Yeah, your younger brother is a year.
Shim.
Shim is I think my age.
He's turning 40.
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't
he was your
matter.
age.
Doesn't matter.
No, but we also
doesn't
have
matter
similar-
how old.
We also
The number
have-
doesn't matter. I don't know why you got to tell everyone the number, but yeah.
It's not that old. I'm much older than that. But I will ask you a question, because this is something that always comes up, especially with my brother Kiwi, is do you get mistaken for being older, younger than your other siblings, or are you still like you're
The mistaken identities of my family are amazing. So
nobody knows who's older? Who's
no one, to the point that somebody one time with full confidence, I forgot where it was and when they said it. I said this on a speech or a podcast once because I know people have quoted me saying it, but someone had one time said, so there's a woman who writes in Mashgiach also. Her name is Barbara Bensoussan.
Oh,
She's
you're
actually
not related?
No, she's
Okay.
actually a very close friend of my mom's, but we're not related. And everyone thinks that Duvi is married to Barbara, and they're my parents.
No.
Not everyone. There are a lot of people who think that. Yeah. And then it goes me, Ari, or Ari, me, Avi, and, whoever else. I don't really know my sisters as well. But the funny part is that that's all completely and absolutely wrong, obviously.
I didn't even know you had sisters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's so much
Oh, yeah.
male energy in your family
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
You're a sister. No,
Yeah.
I must
The
have
male
had
energy in my
sisters.
family comes from my mother and my sisters. It's the truth. They are
how many sisters are
firecrackers. There are two. I have a sister,
sisters?
Davari, who married Rabbi Kadosh from Montreal.
Okay.
He's I'm pretty sure. My sister will kill me if I get this wrong. But he's in Manala, the Yeshiva Gedalah over there. I mean, he runs the yeshiva. He runs the
also got an
Yeshiva Gedalah
awesome
Montreal. Yeah, he's very, very. He's unbelievable. He's an incredible, massive Talmid Chacham, but also incredible Baal Eitzah.
Someone really good.
And yeah. My other sister married what is now. He wasn't before. I didn't know him before. But is now one of my closest friends. My other sister married Rabbi Rafal Farhi from Deal. Shlomo, he has a brother Shlomo, Yosef. A lot of people know his brothers or his father, Rabbi Farhi from Deal. So Rafal Farhi from Deal.
And they live in Deal now?
No, they live in Lakewood, Jackson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very, very special people. But she runs, my sister.
I appreciate that you call it Jackson Lakewood because it is.
It is.
Stop calling
I just
Jackson
don't.
people.
You know what? Those aren't the emails I need. So I'll just give in on certain things just so that I don't get hate. You know what I mean?
Okay, so the interesting thing, the reason why we're similar, our families, is that a lot of people in my family have also done a lot of awesome things in the
Right.
world. And people are always asking, you were mentioning before, and I use the exact same word, you were mentioning before, like, how does this happen with a family?
Yeah.
And I was telling people, and you could say yours thing, but
Yeah.
I was saying, and I use the exact same word, cocktail. It's like the perfect cocktail of love and trauma.
Without a question.
That
Absolutely.
makes the perfect.
Absolutely.
You need that. But,
Without a question.
but
Without
I've
a
always
question.
related very strongly to you guys
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. There was definitely a very similar thing, Bensoussan's and Perlman's. But in general, people ask me that all the time. Like, how did it? And there's so much to pay attention to in that. Like, what did your parents do, or what did? And my parents are incredible. I love them. But it's Hashem, like I was saying to you before, Hashem like put together this like perfect recipe with like all these ingredients of everything that was introduced into our life, everything that was seen in our life, everything that was, and yeah, a lot of it was traumatizing, and a lot of it was, but all of it, led to whoever my siblings are now,
Right.
but to discount any one influence, I think, or any one struggle. Because I think that's also a big one. If you see a person speaking or doing something, right, they're in a certain light, and then whoever raised them or had them or is related to them is put into that same same light or same, and not only is that just an inaccurate thing, that person to begin with isn't in that light.
Right.
They're humans.
So that's a great segue, because that's what I was talking to you about. And
Right.
I wanted the change I wanted in this podcast, and you're the first person coming on.
Nice.
Really excited to the restart. Nice. Is this idea of realizing that we've idealized certain people. And I love talking to people that are like helping people, that are helping the Ilam, like helping out people. But the common denominator of all people is that we all struggle.
Right.
And I think sometimes we think, if only I could be. I'll say this. I remember when I was younger, when I was a teenager, and then all the girls were in seminary, and they were all like, I wish I could marry someone like Rabbi Brown.
Right, yeah.
I remember there was somebody, Rabbi Brown. And they were like, I remember one of the girls actually said to his wife, I couldn't believe this, like, you're so lucky. And I was like, why did that wife just smack her in the face? Anyway.
Do you have any idea how, first of all, how...
Has that happened to you?
Can I just...
Okay.
Where am I? Where's my camera? Where can I look into a camera to make a statement to the public?
Make a statement.
If you want to go over to someone's wife and say hello, That's more than tell them how much you enjoy what their spouse does. That's amazing. To only sum up an entire human being that you don't know by their spouse's accomplishments is not only weird, it's inappropriate. So to go over to someone, for instance, and say to them, well, obviously your husband's great at whatever because he has you behind him. Like, please don't do that. Right. Please don't. And definitely, for those that go up and say, wow, you're so lucky. No, she's not. She absolutely is not. And when you say it, I laugh very deeply, and I thank you for that. But believe me, that is not the case. It is so easy to stand up and say the right things and have your stuff ready. And when it's a very different thing when you're living life. And to go back on your point, it's a completely, to say lie is even not doing it justice. This pedestal that we tend to put people on, all people, we do it with singers also,
right?
Like, it's not reality, and not only is it not reality, it comes from a very deep, unhealthy thought process of there is an idea of, because we want to get to a certain place as quickly as possible, right? We want to have and the way the world has been till now, right? We want to have as little shame and as much love and acceptance as possible. So we tend to want to take the easiest route there. Hence, if someone's an Instagram influencer and they get to, tailor make and pick and choose the exact 5 minutes a week that you see their life, they can make everything look amazing for 5 minutes a week. So it's a lot easier to do that. So we tend to not only know that, but we start believing that, and we start wanting to get there. A kid told me the other week.
It's damaging.
A kid told me the other week. He's like, I want some advice. He's like, I want to become a speaker. I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. He's like, I want to be a speaker. I'm like, oh, do you enjoy teaching? Do you enjoy? He's like, no, not like in a classroom, like for crowds. I'm like, I don't know if that's a thing. I think it's gonna be. By the way, I think at some point it's gonna be. Thing. It's not. If you take any speaker over, I'm gonna stay. I could be wrong about this, so I'm gonna stay within what I know or what I believe I know. Take any speaker over 40. Okay, if he is specifically if he's a popular speaker in the Jewish world right now, it's for a reason. There's something behind it. So either he's a therapist with many years of experience, he's a Rebbe with many years of experience in teaching, he has some sort of background in doing something. He's a rabbi from a shul that acquired a big following, or he usually has many years of experience, or at least experience in working in X, but people don't want to know about any of that. So you mentioned Cleveland, right? When I moved to Cleveland, I had no job.
Right.
My wife was working in the school. I had nothing. No, I don't want to say no one wanted to hire me, right? I asked a high school, if there's any open Rebbe positions, and they're like, no, we've never heard of you before, and no, and that was it. Like I had no other talent to speak of. I'm addictions and working.
Right, but me as an outsider. Okay, so let's get back to the idea.
Yeah.
Sorry, cutting you off.
No, go for
it. The idea, what I wanted to add is that it's damaging. What you're saying is incredibly damaging, that we think there's an ideal. Every person who's done and is doing wonderful things has gone through the struggle, is going through a struggle right now. The beauty of understanding that is that you could be gorgeous and amazing within struggle.
Yeah.
You don't need to have
I don't even think it's within struggle. I think it's because of.
And it's because of, but it's in the middle of. Like you're saying, like, I'm like, what are you talking about? You're Yossi Bensoussan. You don't have a job? I do know that when I first got married, I was completely jobless for months and months on end. Not that I wasn't thoroughly enjoying myself. I married my beautiful wife, and it was fun.
Yeah.
But it was poor.
Right. Right.
So, but they don't see that. Here I am. I'm doing all this work.
Right.
People are looking to hire me now, and then you think that's how it started.
Right.
But my point back to Rabbi Brown is that this person, I don't know who this Rabbi Brown is. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I don't know who it is. I just remember the name.
I'm gonna look him up after this.
And I remember he was a redhead. So
there you go.
The
That's why
you is because the best compliment a seminary girl could give me is, "You look like Rabbi Brown." I'm like, I'm getting some tonight. No, I'm just kidding. That's a terrible thing to say.
We were hanging out very different parts of Israel. I think.
If they're like, if I look like Rabbi Brown, it means we're gonna have a nice conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, Rabbi Brown married his wife, probably 21 years old, and he was, a yeshiva guy.
Yeah.
Just a bum.
Yeah.
Say another word, like just a guy who could, make a landing on a piece of Gemara. That's who he was.
We're so gonna find out who this Rabbi Brown is.
Who's this Rabbi Brown?
He's
not like a gadol there now.
He definitely is.
Be bad. But the beauty of it is that I knew that.
Right.
And the truth is, everybody knows it. We all look at our neighbors, and we know that everybody's struggling.
Yeah.
Everybody's struggling.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you have this cognitive dissonance where we switch off to like, but that person's lawn is perfect, and that person's this is perfect, and his career is perfect, and this is perfect. So one of the things I want to talk about is the people who are doing the healing. Why? Why are they doing it? Why are they trying to heal the world? That's trauma in the first place. Like, where'd that come from?
Oh, yeah.
What do you want to devote your life to that?
Yeah.
But also the other thing is that I want people to realize that, and this is something I've been fighting for, is it takes a village, like we always say. This is over here, we're called Our Village, the program. But I'm saying it takes a village, and that means that everybody has got to do what we do. Meaning, I always get so bothered, but that, like, is it weird that I have to take care of 1,000 people? That you have to take care of 1,000 people? 100 people? 1,000 people? How is that a village?
Yeah, where are the people? Yeah.
Right. I feel like, that story of Yisro. Yisro comes to Moshe Rabbeinu. It's like, you taking care of everybody?
Right, yeah.
Shouldn't
Where
we
are the
split
people?
This up?
Yeah. Yeah, and he was right. Where are the people? That is a that is a big the issue is that I think one of the common things I find among people who are out there helping is that you're right. There is some kind of a trauma back there. There is something that they are pulling from, or a hard time that they are pulling from, and I think they acknowledged that, and now have a certain confidence and, for lack of a better term, comfort in being involved in that, and they're okay. Think about our place even, right? Back in the day, or Minyan Shalanu, right? Back in the day, when these things first started, right? The first plan before them from everybody was load all these kids up into a van and just ship them out. Just
maybe Cleveland.
like where? Like there. Send them there. Send them there. Send them to Israel.
Right.
Send them to Israel. It's a big one. That was a big one. We were hoping that they didn't. The problem is they started younger. And Israel was like, yeah, we're not taking a 14-year-old. So what are you doing? And we had to start making. But the fact is that especially when they were older, the answer always was, back in the day, was send them to Israel. Right. Send them to Israel. When I was in Israel and I was running the things there, I hated it. Right? We're not the cure-all. We're not the, what do you call it? And if your kid flips out over here, it's equally unhealthy. Right? He's just trading, unhealthy for unhealthy, but still fine. When our process and our concept is take the problem and just remove it, right? Just that's that immediate that everyone goes for. Just get rid of the problem. I don't want to see it. I don't want to deal. These are people who have not sat with their own discomfort, with their own trauma, with their own pain long enough.
Right.
So when they see something that is threatening, and you'll see these things, anxiety induces anxiety, right? How many parents do I know that are running around trying to just cover their kids' eyes everywhere of everything always, right? Don't look at this, don't see this, don't talk to this, don't leave the house, just don't leave the house, just don't. You're not, that's not how it works. That's not, we don't allow sleepovers. We don't allow, you're not preventing anything. right? Let's say you're causing a different type of trauma. I don't mean to go on a rant about this, but
Right.
all studies show that, new studies show that a real trauma is not from the traumatic event. That's not what causes the trauma. The traumatic event happens, and then the years of shame and silence is what causes the trauma, or at least the reactions to the trauma and the behaviors that are going to come from it. But the event itself, if the kid or whoever it was able to talk about it and open up and speak, not only would that traumatic event not have caused trauma, it actually would have caused resilience.
Right.
If they were able to open up and not have the shame. And
I feel like I've been doing this in my podcast without noticing it with myself, where I'm sharing a lot of my vulnerabilities on my podcast. And I think it's because I have this mission to say that everybody could do what we're doing. It's not,
I love that.
like, and not only everybody could, if
There you go.
everybody doesn't, we're
Right.
screwed.
Right.
That's
Right.
what I'm trying to say. Like, I can't be everybody's uncle.
Right.
Someone else has got to be an uncle.
Not only that, just to add to that point for 1 second, I can't be everyone's uncle. I can't be everyone's parent. Not only that, you have any idea how much longer it takes for me to work with a person to be their uncle? Like, I'm not naturally their uncle in reality.
Right.
Their uncle
They
can
have
do
an uncle.
so much more than I can do, so much faster.
Right.
If they just let go of whatever it is they need to let go of. But yeah, if every aunt and uncle and every we're doing their thing, and can do their thing because they can, we might be out of a job.
Right. So
but
a
that'll be
lot,
fine.
no, right. Which is not such a bad idea.
Not such a bad idea. I don't mind going back to not having a job. It sounded like fun. I don't know.
It was fun for a while. It's just that, first of all, I want to be out of a job. But second of all, there's something so unnatural about this experience that we're having. Like I was
Right.
telling you before about my book idea, where I just write a book about the day.
Yeah.
Of every phone call, every text message, everything I got. And then I just did the history of every person and talked about that day and who contacted me. It's weird that I could write a book in a day and you could do the same thing.
Right.
Actually be a really interesting book.
Yeah. So I wanted to have, I was thinking about having, I was thinking about having somebody follow me around for a day, on a busier day even, but follow me around specifically on a busy day and just go through what it is that I do all day. I wanted to do this for
You
two
want to watch it
reasons.
because you want to know what you did.
My memory is I'm getting older.
Is that what I did?
But no, it's just to prove to my wife.
I worked.
Haven't just been sitting around, I promise. No, I wanted it for two reasons. Number one, I wanted, selfishly, I wanted people to understand that, when they say that they want to call and talk for 5 minutes, someone I don't know or don't work with or don't where to go says, hey, do you have just 5 minutes to get on the phone? I have a quick question about my kid, or I have a quick question about, no, I don't have 5 minutes, because it's not 5 minutes. And because this is what my day looks like.
Right.
Number one. But really the reason I wanted to do it is because is for this like new influx of podcasts, I believe. I wanted people to look at it and be like, oh, that's what he does? I could do that. I could do that.
You think
Because
so?
I think they can.
It's a pretty good idea.
I think they can. I think it takes time to work on it's interesting. People say to me a lot on this, so you just said about your podcast, right? That you love the vulnerability and you found yourself being more open. I made a series called Backyard Confessions on Meaningful Minute. And I loved it because it was just stripped down. There was nothing fancy about it. Some of it might not even make sense, but it was some way that I messed up that week, or something that was on my mind, or something that I did wrong, or some lesson I learned or something. And I would just put it out there, and I never would look good I'm not talking about physically. I mean, like in the story that I was saying over whatever happened, I would never look good. It would never come out with me being a hero of any kind in that. And I loved it because I was like, I want people to know that. I want people to know also how often I get everything wrong. As a matter of fact, even the articles I used to write, people totally missed a point on them. I think they
love them, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't write them anymore.
No, and this is why. because
I want to know why.
Yeah, one of the reasons I was writing them, I mean, time, energy, a lot of that went into it.
Okay.
But one of the reasons I was writing them was more as a manual, as an interesting way to see how to do certain things with people, but also to understand that I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. I go into the situation, and a lot of times, and especially the stories I chose for those articles, was that I was wrong most of the time. And the people themselves are the ones who figured it out. I was just there facilitating that to happen and them to do their work and them to do what it is. And I think most people understood that I have the answers to all your problems.
Right.
And that's not, that wasn't the point. You missed the point. You don't actually have to call me anymore, because the point of the article was, you guys can do this. You can do this.
Right.
So
I do hear the disappointment in people's voice when they ask me, and I'm like, I'm not really sure.
right.
Like, I could give you the best ideas I have, but I'm not really sure. And they're like, yeah, you don't have
them.
the
What do you
exact
normally tell
answer.
people to do in this situation? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know. This is a really tough one.
This is a tough one for me. You gotta let me think about this one for a little bit. And usually when that happens, especially with your amount of experience, if that happens, someone's not telling you something, or they're telling you something that's not true. There's, if I'm saying I don't know, it's because I don't know everything, and you're not telling me everything, so I don't know everything. But it's not that I know I always know, but that comes up, and to me, I love being able to say I don't know, and I can't stand it when someone is going to be like upset at me for saying I don't know.
Right.
It's like, I'm supposed to also not know, and the idea, going back to that, of needing these people to be perfect, or needing them to be of a state or stature or whatever it is, you have to realize that they got there through things. It wasn't an accident. So people always say that, like, I'm back here for confession. I like a lot of these things. I'm always laughing. I laugh a lot. Now, first of all, just for everyone out there, it's also a little bit of a nervous tick. I laugh. Stom, I laugh. I always laugh. And more than a nervous tick, that's just what I laugh. I laugh at inappropriate times. Yeah, I laugh at inappropriate times sometimes also. But you also, you're very late. Now, you were always like that, it happens to me. You were always very laid back.
That's
you were
true.
never very.
Nobody gets that I work a lot.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is that when people are doing this, and people are really, what makes someone really good at this is how much you can take. What's your breaking point of starting to freak out about the situation?
Right.
That breaking point is what makes you good or bad at this. And honestly, everything else you can learn, but the patience that it takes to get through that day. And that's why you were surprised when I said, anyone, if they saw the video of my whole day, anyone can do it. They can. They just
But
won't have
maybe
the
not the
patience
whole
to
day.
do it, because they're not going to sit on the phone. I was on the phone with someone yesterday just yelling at me. Just yelling at, I don't know who they are. Just yelling at me. That I'm a charlatan, I'm a horrible person. Why would I? And that I charge for my time. Can you imagine?
No, it's horrible.
Someone charging?
Could I tell you a great
For
story
their
about
time?
yelling at me?
Yeah.
Just besides that, and I definitely want to empathize, because someone just wrote terrible stuff about me on Facebook today, and it's totally killing my day. It's so bad.
Don't let it.
I'm trying not to, but it's so sad. And I'm like sitting here trying to figure out what I did wrong, whatever. But anyway, I once had this parent who was like absolutely furious about something that I did or suggested to her kid or something like that. And she called me, and she just started with yelling.
Right, yeah.
Like, ah! So I just hung up. And then she called back, and she's like, ah! And I hung up. And then she called again.
I'm literally imagining someone just calling you and going, ah!
It's exactly
Like,
what
I don't know what this
I don't know what
is.
she was saying, but it was yelling. And she went like right off the ground.
Like, no
Hit the
words,
ground.
just a yell.
And the third time, she's like, is there something wrong with your phone? I'm like, no, what's up? It was like, and then we had a normal conversation. I didn't give an explanation.
I think we got disconnected. Like, no, we didn't.
It was like, no,
We didn't. My phone has a volume.
the phone's fine. And then we had a conversation. I realized, like, how many times could you call and yell? Eventually you stop. I don't know if there's any relevance to that story.
right.
But okay, so So that's the thing. So a lot of times people listen to my podcast, they're like, you sound really burnt out. And I'm like, I'm just trying to explain to you my experience. And it comes off as burnt out.
Right.
But this is my experience. If I'm speaking to 60 people in a day and they all are in serious pain, then at the end of the day, I need a hot tub.
I'm not burnt out from the work that I do. Interestingly enough, you put me in a room with someone who is going through something, I'm alive. I'm good to go.
Right.
I'm burnt out, not burnt out, but I'd be burnt out from the noise around it. The noise around it, I think this is life in general. The noise around things is what burns people out, not the actual activity. So I take raising kids, right? Mm-hmm. We're always so tired from raising our kids. And we get upset at them that they're not, like this happened to me last week. My kids started school late. The school wasn't open. They had problems with the building or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, guys, why don't you just go outside and play? Like, that's what, I feel like that's what we used to do.
You're living in the 90s.
Right.
What is your problem?
I'm like, guys, just go outside and play.
What is the outdoors?
Start a dodgeball game. My daughter told me the greatest thing. I'm like, start a dodgeball game. And my daughter earlier, I was like, none of the boys want to play with me, dodgeball. I'm like, why not? She's like, too tough. Go, girl. But I was like, I don't know, just do this, do that. No one. And then I don't know what came over me, but I'm working on a lot on mindfulness. And I'm like, where are you going right now? Like, because I was saying that to them because I wanted to do something. I didn't want to be a part of the dodgeball game.
Right.
I didn't say to them, I want to go outside and have a dodgeball game right now. That's not what I was saying. I was saying, go so that I can work or I can whatever. And I don't know what came over me. I'm not usually this good of a parent, but I didn't do whatever I was doing. And I went to my dining room table. It was like a social experiment. I went to my dining room table, and I have a small house, so like everything circles around the dining room table. And I pulled out like crayons and I started coloring, like in a coloring book. And every one of my kids, my 13-year-old and down, every one of my kids ended up at that dining room table coloring at some point. And the whole house calmed down. Everything calmed down.
Wow.
And everyone's coloring, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, wow. You know why everything here is always so crazy? It's because of me, I think. Like, I always thought it was them, but it's not. It's me. If I calm down, they'll all be calm. And what's keeping me from calming down, what's keeping me from sitting here and coloring with my children and enjoying it is that I have to do this and I have to do that, I have to do this, I have to do that. I don't remember, this was a week ago. I literally sitting in front of you today cannot remember what I had to do. I don't remember if it was work or cleaning. I have no idea. No clue. It doesn't matter.
No, the story makes me very sad because sometimes, I would say about 90% of the time, we're doing something we're not going to remember.
Yeah.
Like probably 90%.
I so agree with that.
So sad.
I so agree with
like
that. I think I said this over somewhere about, do you ever do an ice bath?
I have.
Cold plunge?
But I don't want to ever again. I appreciate Joe Rogan and his masochistic ways, but
I did a cold plunge.
I did Tough Mudder.
Amazing.
You know Tough Mudder?
Really?
Yes.
But that's not a cold plunge. I mean,
But
that's
at one
not.
point you have to do a cold plunge.
Oh, that's so different. You're crazy. That's not even comparable to a.
I've done a cold plunge.
Tough Mudder is like you're going through hell, and then you do a cold plunge. That's not a cold plunge.
Fine. I'm
talking about like a spa cold plunge, like a chilled cold plunge.
Okay.
That's like saying. That's like saying, have you ever been in a jacuzzi or a hot tub? And like, yeah, I stuck my hand in a pot of boiling pasta once. Like, no.
Okay, so
I don't want to ever do that again.
I've also done cold plunges.
If you do a cold plunge, you're not. Now we have to have a date. I'm gonna have to take you to a real cold plunge. But I did a cold plunge once. I remember right beforehand, I was very distracted and very, I don't know. I was not in a good mood. That I remember. I was not in a good mood. And I was in an enjoyable setting. I was with a few friends of mine that I have not seen in a long time. And I should have been enjoying myself, but I was worried or something was going on. And I was really trying to be mindful and be present. Couldn't pull it off. And a friend of mine was like, you want to do the cold plunge first? I'm like, you know what? I'll do the cold plunge first. If everyone stop talking to me and leave me alone.
Okay.
And I went in and you stop breathing like at first. Like it sounds horrible.
I hate it. I've done it. It's horrible.
It does sound horrible.
I don't know why anybody does it.
But when I got out, my brain, because your brain turns off. It's like whatever you were thinking about. It's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Right.
It's like 911, and they're like, clear everything, no communication with anything, dump everything you're holding right now. You need to survive because you're gonna die if you stay here.
Right.
And then when I got out, whatever it was that was on my mind, whatever it was I was thinking of, it was gone. Like I have no idea what it was. Till today I can't even tell you what it was. And I'm not saying it lasted like the whole day or that, but the concept that the whole reason I was feeling bad and not enjoying that moment and not living in that moment was because of all this noise that I can't even remember what it was. But I allowed it to control me in that moment. And the second it left, I looked around the room for the first time. We're at like this cottage thing. I looked around for the first time. I was like, it's beautiful here. And I saw my friends there and I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And we have no responsibilities. It's going to be amazing. We're just going to hang out. I didn't think that the entire time I was there till that moment because I couldn't think. I couldn't look. I had all this garbage just sitting in my brain, just piled up. And I think...
So what's the noise around the people?
So
That's where you started.
Yeah. So the noise the noise around the people would be the same thing as like, I don't know, noise around. That's why I use kids as an example because I think it would be more relatable to other people. So with your kids, with our kids, my kids, the noise around it is, are they safe? Are they going to be doing the right thing? Are they this? Are they that? Am I doing the right thing? Am I? I'm gonna have to do bedtime also. Like, there's so much around it, and that moment gets lost. You don't focus there. The noise around a lot of these people are, he comes in, sits down, and you start talking. You're like, I have his parents in my head, and I have the school that called me about that, and then I have the this, and I have the that, and all of that pressure and all of that noise. It ruins the whole. If I just bumped into this kid on a plane, I would have a beautiful conversation with him without the responsibility of him needing to change, of him needing to be different. It's everyone around.
I always found the addiction counselor, like the therapist, which I'm both, so I'm very excited.
I'm not.
You're not. You have to say that every time.
Every time.
Every time.
It's becoming what I'm known for.
I am none of it.
The letters after my name stand for not a therapist.
Not a therapist.
Nat.
Nat. So with the drug counselor, I kind of dropped it out. Like I don't want to like tell people that I'm addictions counselor.
Yeah.
And why? Because it starts with an agenda.
Yeah.
I have to make this person not addicted.
Right.
I'm like, that's not healing.
That's so true.
Healing does not start with like, you're bad, fix it, and then we'll talk about how to do that. It's a very confusing thing.
So
I don't even tell people like, yes, people, as I say, I'm a therapist, but I don't really mention the addictions counselor thing because I just think it's starting in a weird premise.
So that to me is why to bring back why I went on that tangent is why I just want to
let you know that you live in tangents.
Yeah, that's all I do. That's how I
don't know when you're on the topic.
No, I'm never on a topic. I'm in the realm of the topic.
Yeah.
And no, but the idea of holding people to this place and just thinking of them as their 5-minute video clip and idolizing people and putting them on a pedestal. We're not, it's because of that idea that I have to remove the addiction or I have to just get rid of this behavior or I have to, instead of being present for the process that takes. That's your life.
Right.
That process is our actual life. We never get to a place, I'm still worried. Everything I talk about, I suffer from. Every single thing. I don't care what it is.
So cool that you just said that.
Every single thing.
I was telling this to my son yesterday, and I said every person who talks to me on the phone is telling me about their problem, and I fully identify with their problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have a problem with the parenting. You have a problem with your parents. You have the problem. I am identifying with every problem, and I'm the genius who's going to figure out your problem. It's confusing.
Without a question. And it gets confusing. And this is why.
So why do you do it?
I don't like
Let's
my kids.
hear it.
I don't like my kids being around it.
Don't like your kids being
Being around. I don't like when people like say to my kids, "Oh, your father like speaks, or he does this, or he's writing," or because I don't want them to think that like I don't want them to think of me as like this. I want them to think of me as their father, like in that way. Like that's my father. That's great,
right,
but not like that guy because I like them. I want to have a relationship with them. I don't want them to be one of those people that look at me like that.
So I was listening to this Neil Brennan podcast, which I'm in love with, called Blocks, right? That I was telling you about. And he was interviewing Judd. Who's the
Apatow?
Yeah, Judd Apatow.
I didn't know that. Go ahead.
Awesome.
He's amazing.
Hilarious and awesome.
Very talented, yeah.
And he was talking about how, he's talking about his struggles. He's like a bit of a workaholic. Like he had like all of us, he had something to prove. He was out there to like make him worthy and he did. He proved it. He made some of the most greatest, hilarious movies of all time. And he said like when he gets home and his head is just buzzing with stuff, and he says all the people that love you don't care about that stuff. They're like, is beautiful. Dad playing with me with my Barbies right now?
That's beautiful.
Is it, like all the people that love you are unimpressed with all the stuff you're trying to make the world impressed with. They just wanted their dad to be there.
That's beautiful.
And he was talking about how he goes to he's watching, his daughter is an actress and she's working in some play in London. And he says he just goes every day to the play. And they're like, I love that. And then the person interviewing him was like, "Oh, so you're like a helicopter?" He's like, "No, I just love seeing my kid in a play." Like, so maybe that's 100%. Helicopter. I don't know, but like the way you're saying, like your kids just want you.
Right.
They don't care that you made a good speech.
That is the problem. So that's the issue. And that's why I liked the example. I'm bringing up the example of kids. That's the issue that most people don't do this for, or aren't involved, or don't help people, or go the other way and are actually really not good to people. They don't believe that inside, that I'm enough for my kids. That what my kids really want is me. With my flaws, with my negatives, with everything embarrassing about me. They don't, and that's not true. Like, think about your parents. Like, we know our parents were not perfect people. And my parents love me and care for me enough that I can say that.
Right.
There was a time, I think, when you weren't allowed to say something like that, but they weren't perfect, and they weren't supposed to be.
Right.
But when you think back to being a child, you put yourself back there, and you look at your father, it didn't matter that he wasn't, nothing mattered. You just wanted him next to you. You wanted him close to you. You wanted him to be there with you, to laugh with you.
Right.
You wanted to know, and it's one of the first things I tell parents, if you want to, whatever the behavior you're worried about or the decision, forget all of it for a second. I want you to develop a relationship with the kid first. So I want you have to have one goal and one mission. I want you to instill into this kid's head that you enjoy being in their presence. And they're like, okay, how do I do that? I'm like, go on a date and don't talk about anything but you. Like share with them, like as if they're your friend in that moment. I'm not saying make your kid your friend, but like in that moment. I'm like, you realize what happens afterwards? You leave and the kid's like, wait, you don't want anything? Like there was no agenda here? You weren't asking me you weren't taking me out so that I do whatever, or so that you just wanted to like sit here with me? Your kid is bulletproof now.
Right.
Your kid, you can stop doing this. You could stop covering his eyes. You can allow him to go to friends' houses now. Your kid is bulletproof. You just harnessed him into a bomb jacket. Nothing can hurt that kid now because he has that. So the problem is that we don't view ourselves, and the reason we don't view ourselves is because we view other people and we're like, they're perfect already, right? We're not taking into account anything of how they got there. They're perfect already. Therefore, that's where I want to. We do this with communities, right? Everyone wants to move to a Jewish community that's already established and already built. And it started somewhere, right? You can live somewhere. and so on and so forth. And I think that's why a lot of people don't. One of the most beautiful things, beautiful compliments I ever got was one of my daughter and a few of my kids were with me on a Shabbaton. Like I tried taking them because it gets lonely. Speaking is a very lonely profession, right. And I don't do it as a profession, but it's still lonely. And my daughter, they had like a camp at this Shabbos. And the woman said to me, she was like, your daughter said something very, very cute. I think you would love. I'm like, oh no, because she's a firecracker. I'm like, go ahead, let's hear it. She was like, one of the counselors said, do you think I can come up to your table and ask your father a few questions? You think you would mind if, no, I'm sorry. They were talking about something and she was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to actually be coming up to your table to ask your father a few questions, about some questions I had or whatever, during the meal. So I'll bring it to you then. Like she was asking her for something. I was like, I'll bring it to you then. My daughter was like, he's not going to talk to you then. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, he's not going to answer any of your questions then. She's like, why not? She's like, because he's going to be sitting with me. And this other teacher like overheard it. Wow. And she said it like very nonchalantly. Like she wasn't trying to be mean. She's like, I just know the guy. He's going to be very annoyed. Like, right. Don't walk up to the table. She's trying to help her. She's like, trust me, I know the guy. He's not going to want to talk to you then. Like, he's not going to.
I don't know.
I have to sit there having conversation with this guy the whole time. It's not, this is when he picks my brain for ideas. So it's you don't want to come up then, So, but that's the concept of wanting the life you're living in and appreciating that process of it.
Right, but I will push back a tiny bit.
Please.
We're not enough to be our kids' parents. I'm just saying this, and when I'm saying this is...
Let me think. Go.
Hold on, let me finish. Listening. I have to explain that. It is... You talk about lonely. I mean, just two of us. There's no aunts, there's no uncles, there's no grandparents. We've moved away.
Yeah.
There's nobody around.
Yeah.
And I gotta be the uncle, the grandparent, this is like, and I'm finding this is a lot of people's experiences. Yeah. It's not just me. And I gotta be their best friend and their uncle and their father and their not the mother. Okay, we got a father and mother. That's all we got.
Right.
And I'm the lucky one who's married.
Right.
To a wonderful woman who
right.
we love each other.
Right.
And not everybody has that situation.
Right.
But in most situations I'm seeing today, and I'm talking about a huge. This is, to me, the crisis of today, I think so, is that we're all alone. Mm. It's just us two. We're a tiny island, and we mess up so much. And I always think came from a pretty big family. I came from a pretty big family. It's pretty awesome to have a lot of people because if one guy messes up, you're friends with the other guy for a little while.
Right.
But
I think you just hit it. I think you just hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
What's the noise there? The noise there is I came from a big family. And my preconceived notions of how this should work is aunts and uncles and all these people around. But your kids don't know anything about any of that.
But I think they're suffering because of it.
I don't think they're suffering because of it. You might think they're missing out because of it.
No, because they're missing out. Yes,
they might be missing out.
Dude, everybody.
But they don't know that they're missing out.
Of course they do.
And they know they're missing out because you're giving that over to them.
I don't think so. No, I didn't grow up with a big extended family. I'm saying the idea that two parents and we both can mess up. There's no grandmother to go running over and be like, "Hello, could I talk for a little while?" Or an aunt or an uncle or
right.
It's not. This is the village I'm talking about. The village is that people used to be raised by a lot of people. The parents would be like, "Get out of the house," and then you end up eating at someone else's house and talking to this person. And I even say like. It wasn't weird in the old days for some other person's parent to smack you.
Yeah.
Because they were raising you too.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was part of the situation. So what I'm saying is, yes, of course, the point is parents have to know that they're the most important key character in this play and that they need to really perform and they should know that they're enough to be the parents.
Right.
But I could tell you, it is when I think that, I have nothing to say to my son, he's struggling. I've given him everything I got, and all he needs is someone to just listen to him.
Right, but to me,
yeah.
Again, all stories of he shouldn't be struggling.
Right.
I don't mean to do this on air, but
everybody's struggling.
He shouldn't be struggling. I should have the answers. I
not
should
what
be the
I'm
one.
saying.
That is.
No, I'm saying that
Because if I was enough, I would have the answers.
I'm saying that people need many people in their lives.
I'm not saying not.
Okay.
But we're enough. In other words, I don't know if I should say this. Okay. Yeah, why not?
You're here first.
Why not? I don't, I'm not saying this is something people should do, though. This was right for my situation, okay? Okay.
Cut that out.
Yeah, just sound clip like
Cut that clip out.
I'm pretty sure if someone wanted to chop all this up, by the way,
everybody should do this.
I will lose. Like everything that we've said here, if you just cut up right, I'm done for. It's over.
Nice.
I don't really learn with my kids. A little bit, like here and there when it comes up and when we have an opportunity. But I have Rebbeim that I have that, specifically with my oldest son, that learns with. Now, in my situation, it was a little bit different, and there's a reason I did it. But I have a Rebbe that learns, with my son. And if I want my son to be able to really exceed in the yeshiva world, he's going to need that Rebbe. And I'm not only because of my own personal situation, not only am I not going to be enough if I were going to be Rebbe, but it would actually be very detrimental to him. So in my situation, right, I can't also be Rebbe. I can't also be, my father always used to tell us to get close to our Rebbeim. Right? He wasn't trying to replace his responsibility as a father. No. He was saying you need more people. Yeah. And that's true. The village part is true, right, but that doesn't take away the core value. In other words, if one Rebbe doesn't work, I'll go to another Rebbe. If one friend doesn't work, I'll go to another friend. If one, friend's parent, whatever it is, mentor doesn't work, I'll go to another mentor. I cannot go to another parent.
No.
It will never work. I don't care how loving the person is. I don't care how caring the person is. I don't care. And I'm not going to say who it was, but it was a very, very big gadol. Someone asked me not to say his name. It was very, very, very big gadol. They asked. I don't think it's a fair question. I just want to say that to begin with. But they asked, Lamaisa, like Sofyom, whose fault are all these kids that are struggling? Right. Is it the schools or the parents? Let's just get a final answer. First of all, I love that those are the two options. That's it.
Right.
Number one, it's one of these two people's fault, and that's it. It's not the guy who abused them. It's none of them. It's one of these. Number two, and by the way, all these things, it all comes back to the same point that we want to know what the cause or what the reason is for the problem. We want to know who to blame so that we can move on to our perfect world again.
Yes.
But that aside, they want to know who and the Rav did say the question is garbage. What he said, but if you wanted to know if what your question is, what's more powerful? Now, everyone's going to say, obviously the home's more powerful. He said, but let me explain. You can have a kid from a good home. Now, when I say good home, I don't mean that there's no problems in the house. I don't mean there's no struggle. I don't mean his father's not an alcoholic. I don't mean anything like that. There could be divorce and addiction and all these things going on in the home, and it could still be a good home. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen loving, caring parents who have instilled love into their children, who have instilled time, energy, and effort into the relationship. Right. And all that was happening in the house. And these kids are different. They are different than, so he said, if you have a kid coming from that type of home with this support and love and care, and he goes to school and some Rebbe does something, or some teacher calls him a name or embarrasses him in public, or what do you call it? That kid is bulletproof, like I said before, but that kid he's going to be hurt by it. And he's going to go home. He's going to cry to his mom. His mom's going to hold him. His mom's going to have to hold back his father. His father's going to want to go to the school and beat the teacher up. Or like whatever. I mean, hopefully he reacts healthy, but yeah. And this kid's going to feel that support. He's going to feel that, what do you call it? There isn't anything. It's experiences that he's going to have, but there isn't anything the school can do to break that kid. The other way around. A kid comes from a dysfunctional, abusive home, and he goes to school. There is nothing that school can do to repair that kid. The school can do nothing to repair that child. They will never be able to counterbalance that the other way. So again, if a school hurts a kid, it can happen that a parent can make up for all of it. On the other end of it, if a parent hurts the child, there's all the loving rebbeim in the world aren't going to make any difference. Now wait, now the point of this is the point of this is one very important thing. I think we go through life also with this idea that we have a better plan than the plan, and we know what our kids are supposed to go through, look like, behave as, and definitely what our relationship with them is supposed to be like. And I've had parents who I've worked with who have been the most loving, relaxed, laid back. I don't care what happens here as long as I have a good relationship with them, parents, and it's still whatever. That's not because of bad parenting. That whole thing is a myth. It's not because of bad parenting. It's not because no one loved this kid enough or hugged him enough or was there for him enough. It's because we believe in the idea of a neshama that struggles. And for a parent to be the one that sits there, now imagine a child that is actually physically disabled and shakes or something, and his parents holding, and his kid's hitting the parent. We can be like, that's some bad parenting. And by the way, it does happen. There's a lot of studies done on the guilt of parents of autistic children, specifically the mothers. What did I do? Was it that time that I went on the subway and I shouldn't have? And I breathed in some unhealthy air, and I because
they vaccinated.
Yeah. All right, so
let's talk about the real topic.
In case we weren't going to get into enough trouble over here, by the way, I'm not going to say which side of that I'm on. I might surprise a lot of people. What side of that I'm on.
It's too late. My kids were all young before COVID, so everybody got their vaccination.
Yeah,
I can't figure out why all my kids are autistic, but okay.
I'm not.
They're not.
My wife does not let me. My wife does not let me talk about my kids' vaccination status. If that helps you in any way. So,
do you know the joke? The joke is I saw this somewhere. I only allow my kids play with autistic kids because I know they've been vaccinated.
That's such not a good joke.
It's a terrible joke. Okay, I don't know if we can scrub that.
We're gonna scrub that.
Don't scrub it. It's fantastic.
We'll take care of it in post.
It's a good.
So, the idea over there is that I think personally, and it's easy for me to say. I do it to my own kids all the time, so it's easy for me to say. But I think personally, it's one of the first things, you'll know this, one of the first things parents say to you, one of the first things is what they believe. They don't say it like that.
My kid?
Yeah.
No, okay.
No. What they believe, close. What they believe, not what actually is necessarily, but they come off with it as a fact. But what they believe, the reason that they're in the situation, that their kid is in the situation he or she is in at that point, they come off with that right away. They're like, what happened was everything was fine. He was doing great, adjusting. 6th grade, he was put into the wrong, so we switched him, and then that one didn't. Right. And then from there it was just downhill. And you're like, that's not the actual story. Like, I know you found the spot that you feel okay. Here we could blame this, and we could say this, and we do this naturally to simplify pain. But it's not helpful in any way, and it's also usually not true, because I've had parents say the opposite. I've literally had mothers say to me, no, he was a terror from the second he was born.
Right.
He was a horrible baby.
I've heard that.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know that what he's going through right now is because he was a bad baby. I don't know if that's, what does that even mean? What's a bad baby? He's like, he was up all night.
You know that psychology screwed us up about this.
Yeah.
I'm saying they convinced us that the parents have ruined the kids.
Yeah.
And they took something normal, like called a struggle, and turned it into somebody's fault.
Yeah. Everything becomes a dysfunction of some kind. Everything becomes a label of some kind. And once you have it, you represent with it. So to hold that with you, right? We were very blessed. Like a lot of people say, like, I used to get smacked in class because they didn't know about ADD when I was a kid. Right. I have ADD full on and ADHD, and I'm thankful that they didn't know about that when I was a kid. I really am thankful.
They did know about it.
Well, when I was a kid, yeah, they knew.
Your mother was just not having it.
It was no. My mother definitely didn't know about it. Do you remember the kids that used to be?
What are you talking about? They were kids
40 years ago.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, but do you remember?
Like today.
But right, do you remember those kids? Those kids needed Ritalin. Those kids were extreme.
Ritalin.
Yeah. Okay.
I needed Ritalin.
No, it's the truth. It is.
I was out of my mind.
It is. But it was different.
Nobody knows
it
how
was
crazy
different.
I was.
It was different.
That's what I'm just going to say. It's not. Nobody knows it. No, because when I try to explain to people,
all those near-death experiences
now. Yeah.
Right.
They don't realize that there was a shift at some point.
I scared the fear out of me.
Scared it right out. There's nothing left.
But
okay, wait.
The reason I say I'm thankful for it is because I didn't have that label, so I was always fighting, always trying to become something. I was always trying to the oversimplification of a problem of life by just making it into a problem is really bad for us.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you a question, because I want to get into, like, you're doing a slew of things. You're giving me a bio, and I'll go through all of it.
Yeah, no. I hate my bio.
What?
I hate my bio.
You hate the bio. Well, you really, I think you've honed your ADHD.
Yeah,
like, you're you do a lot of things.
Right.
So when you're thinking about it, now this is what I wanted to get to, is like, where is your biggest struggles? Where are your biggest struggles in all these things that you do?
So to be fully, like, really candid, open, and honest, self-worth is definitely a big struggle. Till today, I don't care how many speeches I'll ever give. I don't care how many articles I'll ever write. Till today, there isn't one that articles are harder because it's more of a prep. It's more of an actual speeches. I'm there, and at this point, I don't really need to prepare as much anymore because, like, it's sort of in there already. Right. But if I'm preparing something new, which I try to do, if I'm preparing something new, it's garbage. I don't know how I ever thought I was good at this. Every single time. Every single time.
Do you know how crazy that sounds to everybody else?
No. Yeah, and no.
Right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
If I tell somebody, and I have similar experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, similar experiences when I go. I'm not speaking as much as you because I don't like speaking.
I know.
But
I know you left me high and dry we're not going to talk about it. Yeah.
That's true. He's trying to get me for this one. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're killing it. You're out there killing it. And everybody else is like, yeah, I can't do that because I feel this.
Yeah, I know. It looks like that.
What pushes you to push through that? How do you get through that?
It's, I got to feed my kids. No,
by the way, do not laugh at that. That is 100%.
No.
80% of the reason.
Yep. Yep. It more or less is because I have no other. This is all I know how to do, and that really answers also what you were saying before of, like, so why do we do this?
Yeah.
Because this is all we can do. Like really, I would love to make us sound like, or myself at least, sound like this person who's sacrificing everything to do this, and really I can't do anything else. Not not just because I don't have the talent to do something else or the ability to do something else. I have other talents and abilities that I can use. I wouldn't be able to get through a day that isn't doing what I do.
Because of the meaning of it?
Because I would feel like I'm lying. I'd feel like I'm not being who I am. And the funny part about that is that the imposter syndrome of doing it is also very heavy. Right? Of like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know why anyone's listening. This article's garbage. This speech didn't make any sense. And no matter how many people tell you otherwise, it doesn't matter. That thing inside of you that really wants you to self-destruct is always going to be there. And there is no level that you hit that you're like, oh, I did it. Like, okay, now I could be confident. Never happens in my experience. So I can't do anything else.
Right.
I feel like maybe teachers, some therapists, certain people who understand this idea. I think you're one of them, that I do this because this is what I do.
Right. I'm understanding it maybe through my own lens, and tell me if I'm wrong. With me, and I think it has something to do with ADHD as well. And I believe I have it. And my sister, who's the ADHD expert, has told me that I have it, although I wasn't diagnosed.
Oh, right. Yeah. Your sister is the ADHD expert.
She's the ADHD expert. She's awesome.
Yeah.
I had her on the podcast, and I'll do it again. She's awesome.
Very much recommend her book.
Did you get
It's very good.
did
I
you read
did,
it?
and I did, and it was amazing.
So good. What's the name of the book so I could share
Trying to
it
remember
out?
now also.
Shoot.
Remember her name.
No. She's
Every book in my house has
like,
the
I'll
cover
give
ripped
hell,
off.
and the name of the book is Hyper Healing.
Hyper Healing. Very good. Yeah.
Dude. Bomb.
Got
You
the
gotta
kid
see
on
her
the
Instagram now.
on the thing in the front.
Yeah. By the way, I fought
love
very
that
hard
picture.
for that picture.
I love that picture.
And it's very retro.
If you really want to know why I don't remember the name of the book, is because that picture. If you're ADHD, you can do nothing but focus on that picture when you look at that book.
I am so happy you said that, because there was
And the cover's ripped
there
off.
was a big machlaikis on the different covers, and I
Yeah.
was like, we need this cover. This is perfect.
That picture's gold.
And I fought for that cover, and it went through. But I don't have the ability, and tell me if this is what you're saying. I don't have the ability to do something unless I believe it's meaningful. Like it's like right now, almost everybody has told me financially the right move is to go back to private practice, where I was doing, where you're making a killing. Some of it makes me feel bad about how much people charge in private practice and how much I was charging. But I got to a place where I just didn't feel like that was filling me up anymore. Just wasn't doing it. I like talking to people once, twice, 3 times, and I don't know if I could do the weekly thing. It became a grind.
I know. Yeah, I don't.
And
That's why I never became. It was one of the reasons I never became a therapist.
Right. So it became a grind, and then I just don't have the ability to do something that's not filling me up anymore. Is that what you're saying?
In a sense, yeah. There's a lot of that to it. To what I was saying, without a question. That
It's like, even if this thing is burning me out and it's rough, at the end of the day, I'm like, I did something special. When I look back, it's special.
I want to tell you where I got to on this, because I really had to think about this for a long time, especially when I moved to the States. I like had to start life over again, right? No one knew who I was. No one knew, have a job. And I really thought about it. I really thought about this a lot. And I was picturing myself in any profession, in all professions, in any other. And what I realized was, it's not even the meaning, it's the belonging. This is home, whether I want to admit it or not.
Right.
I would love to complain about it, but I complain about my kids too. And I complain about my wife, and I complain about my finances, or I complain about my house, or I complain about whatever. But this is a certain amount of home. And I think people want it to be that, no, I'm doing everyone a favor by working with people, and it's not true in reality. It's just not. I'm getting to be home. I'm getting to be myself. So that meaningfulness is true for me, but it's meaning from the fact that I get to go to sleep at night, and when I don't have a day like that, it's bad. I get to go to sleep at night being like, I was who I am. I was me today. I was really me today. And there's very few things in the world that give me that. Wow. But, playing with my children sometimes, certain things can make me.
Right.
And if you know yourself, if there was one thing that, like a bracha that I would ask from someone who I knew, let's say they're like, is brachas 100% come true? I would wish that people's only goal was to be who they are, was to value that, to understand that every time you feel good, and when I say feel good, I mean the real stuff, the intrinsic real stuff, it's because it's a sign of who you are. So when you look at your children and you're like, this kid is going to drive me insane, but I can't imagine. It doesn't make any sense. Like I die for this baby in a second.
Right.
It makes no sense. Like I cannot love anything more than I love this thing. It's wild. It's wild. And it's spitting at me and kicking me and cursing at me and misbehaving and not listening and doing all this stuff.
Blaming us.
And blaming, 100%. Doing all that. And I'm still sitting here in this abusive relationship, just being like, I love you. Just even admiring it from afar, just sitting there staring at it as it's cursing me out, being like, you're so beautiful. Like, it's so hard. Because it's showing, that's me. I can actually see me. I can see me, who I am in this child.
Right.
And it's so home. It's just what I really am. And when we do it with our parents the same way, that if our parents do something loving for us or giving or give us an accolade or some sort of compliment or what do you call it, the reason that is because that's me. I'm a part of that person. I come from that person. I'm a part of that person. It's the same thing within ourselves. When I look at myself, if I am who I really am, and I feel that over the course of the day, I know I did today. I can't do anything else. I can't. Maybe I would love to. I wish.
I mean, I'm absolutely loving the way you're describing this, because there are times when I feel the same way about my profession as I do about my kids.
No, yeah, 100%.
It's interesting because one of the things that's happened in later on the career is, and I'm very lucky, I don't know if you get this too much, is that I work with my staff. So I have in both programs, I have a full staff. And our staff meetings have become a blast, like really fun. I mean, it's difficult work, and we're all like going through it and like dealing with. I
don't have the confidence to take it to that level.
Though. You would love it. You would love it. You'd love sitting in a staff meeting. There was a point when I was trying to recruit you to come move back.
I know, I remember. Yeah.
But there was the meeting. What I realized is that my staff meetings have become a little bit like my parent meetings with my wife.
Right.
Which a guy saved me. You ever watch Louis C.K., the comedian?
Okay. Heard of him?
He's not a minute. Okay, so Louis C.K. he's so funny. But one of the things he did, he freed me, is that he started like talking about how much he can't stand his kids in a weird way. Yeah. Of course, he loves his kids like crazy, but he would
nothing a 6-year-old has ever said is important. I'm not saying it's not beautiful. I love the words that come out of her mouth.
Right.
But there's no point. I could go the rest of my life never hearing it again, and it'll be fine.
Exactly. And he would say, like, playing a hide and seek, and they'd be standing there, like, in front of the wall, and you're like, I could plainly see you right there. Like, make an attempt.
Yeah.
And I realized that, like, my conversation with my wife, when we lock our door at night and we're, like, talking to each other, like, in the beginning, there was, like, such a sacredness. I mean, and I don't want to take that away, but, like, we have to talk about how we do it. And now we're like, cracking up.
Right.
Like, how we're messing up and, like, what's going on. And this kid said the most ridiculous thing, and I can't believe what's happening in this family. Like, all that stuff. And there's a lot of laughter and fun. And I realized my staff meetings are looking like that a lot also. We're able to, like, laugh about, like, the craziness that happens in a sober living home. Like, it's a sitcom. Like, it's hilarious. But obviously people are suffering and stuff like that. But that doesn't take away from the hilarity.
No, I don't like the only thing I don't like about what you just said was your need. And it wasn't need, because you called me out of mine before. So
let's hear.
To backtrack and be like, people are suffering, and that's you don't have to do that disclaimer. People are suffering and we're still laughing, yes.
Yeah, together.
Because they're also laughing, yes.
Right.
They're laughing.
Did I say but?
Yeah, I think you did.
Shoot. We're going to go back. Because it is an and. And I don't mind. But if I said but,
right. And if you did say and, then I'll take it back.
And is really how I feel. And they're suffering. And we're laughing. So what happens to me in that experience is, I love the way you're saying it. This is home.
Right.
And sometimes I'm like, it's not working, but that's how home feels sometimes. Right. And wow, I really love what you said.
You gotta be comfortable in it. But I love that what you were just saying, that like what age and experience turned your meetings with your wife into is laughter and calm and acceptance. That's life.
Right.
What's better than that? And the only difference that was flipped over is if I were to ask you what was the most serious part of your meeting with your wife last week, if it wasn't like that, right? If the point of it was like this very serious, like what are we going to do about the kids? And you wouldn't remember. But the funniest thing that happened in the last meeting, you'd be like, yeah, it was this. I was laughing so hard. Why? Because none of that mattered.
No.
Us trying to control, and I'm not going to get into a whole nother topic here, but us trying to control, and that's where all the anxiety comes from, is our need to know, to have certainty. Certainty is the killer of all lives.
Oh my God.
Certainty is one of the worst. It's to me, you might disagree with this, and please, to me, it is one of the pillars of drug addiction, is certainty. It is the certainty that I will feel this way if I take this. It's really
black and white thing.
Right. It's really when you do this as long as us, it's really what we try to bring people to understand is that it's not that you will feel this way if you take this drug or you do this thing. It's you won't feel that way if you take this drug and do this thing. Right. And not wanting to feel that way is what we need to work on. Not your want to be high. Everybody wants to be high. That's not a problem. It's why does high not equals, so different than your real life?
Right.
But the point is that certainty robs people in religion all the time, right? One of the biggest, if I'm ever speaking to a person who is very anti-religious, they're like, there's no way to know for sure.
Right.
I'm like, okay. No one's talking about, no, we don't know anything for sure. I mean, if you wanted to know everything for sure, you would never got married. There's no way you know for sure who this person is. I don't care if you've been dating them for 10 years.
Right.
You don't know them. Everything is about to change. There are people who have dated for 10 years, married for 2 years, divorced. What happened? But the second you're married to a person, the whole thing is different. Everything's different. You would never get married. You would never have children. You know that your kids are going to be okay. You know that your kids are going to make it. You know that you would never have kids. You would never start a business. You would never do anything. You would never get out of bed. You wouldn't have a bed.
It'd also be a really boring book.
It's horrific.
The end of a book.
Yeah.
Boring.
Certainty.
Yeah.
Certainty is the cancer of everything. And they say that, the opposite of faith is not disbelief. The opposite of faith is certainty. In reality.
Ooh.
In reality.
I like that. Someone says that? Or you just made that up?
It could be someone says that. It could be I made it up.
All
Sometimes I don't know. I really don't know. I think someone says it.
I would just write that you made it up.
Yeah, why not?
Put it somewhere.
Why not? Abraham Lincoln. But it's the certainty. I want to know for certain that my kids are going to be okay. Therefore, I don't let them leave the house. I don't let them do anything. I don't let them, because now I'm certain that they're okay.
Right.
That's not living life.
I know, but it's so hard.
It's so much easier to be certain.
Right.
It's so hard. I do it all the time.
Well, the whole work we're doing with addiction is like we're taking people into the gray. I mean, it's rough because an addict has the mind of the emotional mind of a child, where it's like there's good, there's evil, there's Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. There's a good and there's an evil.
And the worst is when they don't have it across the board.
Right.
It's like certain things, they're 6 years old. Certain things are 80.
Oh no, their minds work fine. It's the emotional.
It's the emotional. That's what I'm saying. But like even it can.
Right.
And you never know which one you're talking about.
Right. So now you're taking them, and it's like good and evil, or even like this thing I've been saying lately that like people like they're going up against me. But I'm like, the pursuit of happiness is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why are you pursuing happiness? Is a feeling. You feel it sometimes. Mm-hmm. You can't pursue one feeling. So that's the certainty principle that you're saying. Like it's like I'm certain. Every addict I know is looking for that certainty. Right. It's either good or bad, and I know that. Now we're taking them into the gray,
right?
Which is all life.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's exactly
I
what we're
will
doing.
ask you another question because I was bringing up that I have all these staffs and stuff like this, which is so cool. And you got to tour the place and like you get to
This
see
place is
what's going
amazing.
on. It's amazing. Um,
The vibe that, and you
Such a
can't
cool vibe.
build that. Like you either instilled a vibe or you didn't.
Right.
And there's a vibe. There's like a really amazing, homey, not heavy vibe to it that I love here.
It's amazing because we're trying to build home.
Right.
That's what we're trying to build.
Right.
We're trying to build home. But
Mission accomplished.
my question to you is because I actually think about it because every time I see you and we talk about Cleveland, I'm kind of like make fun of you like you're in the middle of nowhere, you know. I think it's hilarious. But really, in a serious question, how the heck are you doing it by yourself out in Cleveland?
Very
I'm
hard.
saying there's action going on in the tri-state area.
Yeah.
I got like tons of people working on this. We're always talking to each other. Like,
Yeah.
how is that?
That is one of the reasons I like living in Cleveland.
Yeah?
Is, it creates a certain separation. I have difficulty, or I started in my life with difficulty separating home and work.
Right.
Because a lot of I was on both ends of it. I was doing addiction work, and I was doing Kirov, separately from each other, and obviously, hopefully, and it ended up just with blurred lines of things of like people coming over to my house, and so it was all over the place, and I needed a quieter life, so that's why I chose for my family. So I chose Cleveland. Or we chose Cleveland, sort of, and but I did need a place though that was still close enough that I can be in the thick of it, but I knew I needed a place that was not so close that I'm always in the thick of it.
Gotcha.
Because I guess by nature I am also maybe an addict, and if I threw myself all in all the time. That's why one of the first things I asked you when we were talking about the village here is it 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365? You said, yeah.
It is.
And I was like,
But not for me.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't. And this is one of the things we discussed. I don't know if you remember. We discussed
Right.
on the phone back then. I was like, because I can't do that because I'll be there. And it's never... It's a problem. It would be a problem. So I needed to have that distance, and I also there was also staying in Cleveland. That decision was even after speaking on what they call it got me more popular. And I got most a good portion of my offers are I don't ever speak in Cleveland, to be honest with you, ever. Right. I don't work just about with anyone in Cleveland. Maybe here and there, I'm involved in the community. I love the people, but I just, professionally, I don't. And that's why I stayed there is that I go there. I go to the supermarket with my kids. I go to everything. It's amazing.
You just live your life.
Yeah, everyone just walks by.
That's
like
kinda
everyone's
what happened to me when
over
I moved
here.
to
It's
Muncie.
really hard for me. Muncie, Lakewood. If I come with my kids to Lakewood or Muncie and we want to pick up pizza to take home, like
Everybody.
I'm like, you're going in to get that pizza. It's gonna be cold by the time I get back. Let's I don't like my kids being around that whole part of
That's cool, man. That's really cool. I have this very. It's interesting because I have strong emotions about it. When I first started this, and I mentioned this before on the podcast, but it really was because I needed it. And really, really was like I needed to prove my self-worth. I really liked, and it's interesting because I listen to comedians on podcasts, and they always, what was this? The same podcast I listened to, this guy was saying he wondered if he'll still be funny if he got better. So I almost felt like as I get better, could I still really heal people?
It's a great piece, yeah.
Right, it's fantastic. So as I shifted from as I started getting healthier and not needing it, I was like, interestingly, I think that's why this was born, this place. I couldn't be the house. I knew they needed a home. But I realized it needs a huge amount of people, and everybody's got to have their piece because I don't want anybody to be
There's a certain
fully unhealthy.
There's
like,
a certain beautiful piece to knowing that you're not enough also then.
it's so nice.
Right? There's because you know you're enough, but you're not controlling. You're not certainty.
Right.
See, if you were to do all those jobs, you would have certainty that it's all getting done right. And you've abandoned certainty and said, no, I can't.
Right.
I can't have certainty, control, and what do you call it, and be able to do this.
Right.
I'm going to have to let go and allow. And I'm very jealous of you. That's a beautiful place to be.
There's
a certain
special.
piece to that. But
that was one of the reasons prior practice was very hard to me. Also, I was all alone.
Right. Oh, I hate the alone part of it.
was
I
hard.
hate the alone part of it.
Alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate that part. That's why, Zoom and me also aren't, best of friends. But just to, because I want to put in before on what you were saying about, lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the comedians. So in comedy, you'll find this. I'm very big into comedy, but in comedy you'll find this, and I think it's amazing. I think it very much applies in our world. Is certain comedians will do that. They don't want to give up their vices or their lifestyle because that's where they're drawing comedy from.
Right. And some of them get less funny when they get rich.
Yeah. They do get less. But and I always used to think it was because I agreed with them. It's because they got rich.
Right.
It's because what that is them saying, I'm not funny. My life is funny.
Right.
Anyone living my life would find this funny.
Right.
And that's not true. You're funny.
Right.
So there's a comedian, I forgot who it was, who he said this line. He was talking about comedy on a podcast. I forgot who it was, but he almost changed my life with it. He goes, every special I do, every stand-up special that I do, he says, I open with my closing. Now, when a comedian opens, they open soft.
That's Louis C.K.
Yeah?
He said his hardest joke would make his opener.
Right.
Okay, go on.
So he said, why? He said everyone that was with him was like, are you insane? That's suicide. He's like, Exactly.
Right.
Now, if I'm going to make the rest of that special, it's going to have to be better than that.
Right.
That's someone who knows that.
Start with his best
Exactly.
joke, and he had to follow
Exactly. That's someone who knows that they're funny. That's different. So when people say to me, how do you have all these stories? They say to my brothers also, like, how do you have all these stories? Because I don't like stories from outside of me. Right. So I'm not going to tell you a story about a king somewhere that, like, if I'm speaking, I'm going to say a story that happened to me or my kids or something immediate to me or someone I know or something in my life. They're like, how do you have all these stories? How do you have, like, you live such an... I'm like, no, honestly, that my day-to-day... I live in Cleveland. I'm saying my day-to-day is pretty boring, believe me. The reason why I have all these stories is for one reason and one reason only. I have to speak, and I can't say the same story over and over again. So I need to really pay attention to what's going on. You have the same exact amount of things happening in your life, but no one's testing you on it afterwards.
Right.
No one's... So as a byproduct, I get to find my life very enjoyable and funny because I'm looking for all the stories to put out, to add to a speech, to make a backyard confession, to make all these things. But you're having the same stuff happen to you. You're just not, and my students, it happens with my students all the time. I forgot what it was. We were on a hike and something bad was going on. I'm sitting there. I'm like just smiling, like to myself. Like I'm standing in the back of everyone. We were low. I forgot what it was that was happening. I'm standing in the back of everyone. I'm just spacing out. And I have this huge smile on my face. And that happens to me sometimes. And anyone who knows me knows that happens to me sometimes. And one of my students are like, why are you smiling? I'm like, and I looked around and everyone was really upset and it was hot. And I was like, I don't know if this is the time. We'll talk about it later. And then later on, found our way, everything. We're at a barbecue. And one of the guys was like, what was so funny that you were smiling? I'm like, honestly, I prepared a whole speech while we were there. I'm like, because there was this great story of this guy who, whatever, on the hike, while that was going on. I'm like, it was perfect. It was amazing. Some of my best material, especially the funny stories, happened because planes got delayed. I missed a flight. All things that normal people would find so annoying and would ruin their week. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
This is a good story.
This is going to be great. I cannot wait for this to get messed up like this.
Great perspective.
Because I literally am getting paid to have this mess up happen in my life. I'm literally getting paid for this annoyance because I'm going to use that story and make money off of it.
It's awesome. Okay, we're coming to an end because I think we have a schedule.
Oh, yeah, because I'm...
Because you're supposed to leave 22
Yeah, 'cause
minutes
I was
ago.
supposed to leave.
Now that you picked it up.
Yeah.
They're texting you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay, so one last question. And also, by the way,
Let me see if they're there, yeah.
our producer, Mendy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Mendy's
Big
first
shout
one
out.
he's producing.
Makes a good coffee.
He's
good
jumping
coffee. No,
around. His ADHD is getting to him also. There are 3 ADHD people in this room.
I need a producer, yeah.
So
I need a producer in my life.
He needs a producer in his life.
Just to be like, you're going overtime. Like, yeah.
Going overtime. I wanted to go for a bunch of hours here because I've been waiting to talk to you for
next
a while.
time, yeah.
I feel very much like a kindred spirit to you, so I'm really
Very,
glad you
very,
came.
very connected.
It's a lot of fun.
Connected. I love it.
Question that I like to ask most people that come on when I remember.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget. Is like if you could stand on top of the rooftop and shout to the world one message, what is that message? That's it's a lot of pressure for one shot, but like something that's really like.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
I love the question and I hate it at the same time because it's like when someone asks you during a speech, like during the Q&A, and they're like, what's the one thing you would say in parenting? I'm like, please stop. There's no, what? No. I'll tell you why, because there's no one with a gun. They're like, gun to your head. One thing. Like, no, there's no gun. There's no gun. There's no one thing. Stop making things so simple.
Right.
It's not.
You
but
hate certainty.
Yeah. But what would I yell? What would I yell from the rooftop?
I just want to tell the world, like, hello, I want to say this. That's it. It doesn't have to be the only thing.
I don't think it's something I would want to say. It's like if I was able to yell something from a rooftop and they would all be able to actually believe it, like hear it and feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magic.
Yeah, I'm trying to choose between two words, but yeah, you're enough.
Can you expound a little bit?
Yeah.
I love it, but
Yeah. Imagine a world where everybody was able to give with the confidence of God. I made all this. I did all this. Like what we were just talking about with the comedians. It's the difference between you being funny and your life being funny. I made all this. I did all this. I could give whatever I want. I just wrote this article about this, that I met this billionaire one time. And I said, one of the beautiful parts of having all these different, because he was telling me the different businesses he has. I'm like, one of the beautiful parts of having all these different types of businesses is that whatever personality your kid is, you can give them a job in one of the businesses. And he said, I don't give my kids jobs right away. I'll hook them up with a job by somebody, but I want them to make it without me. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It's, I don't know if I agree, but it's interesting that you do that, that you want them to struggle. He's like, nah, there's nothing to do with it. He's like, the reason I do is because I want them to be a giver. And this was amazing to me. He goes, I found a quality among all my wealthy friends that some of them are fabulously wealthy and they won't give a penny. They won't give anything. And this has nothing to do with money. This is in life also. This is with our time, with our emotions, with our love. We won't give. With compliments, we won't give. And he said, the reason I have them start elsewhere is because I want them to get hired by me, not given a job. I want them to start doing well in another place. I want to approach them and say, you have value. I want to hire you in my company. I'll give you this, as if I was approaching them. Why? He said, of all my friends, all the people I see, there is one trait among givers, among people who really give. And those are the people who feel that their value is what earned them what they have. Because to them, they're like, I can always generate more. It doesn't matter. I can give and give and give, and I'll just generate more. I'm a source of light. I'm a source of giving. I could always give more. To the person who feels they were handed everything, they feel completely incompetent in creating. Therefore, whatever they have, they don't know if they're ever going to get more. Because I didn't create it. I didn't make it happen. So if I didn't make this happen, I can never give it. I can never give it away because I'm so limited in it. Even if I have billions of it, it doesn't matter. But I don't know if I'll ever get more of it. So I can't give any of it away. Whereas the person who knows and has that confidence that my value is what created this in my life, that person can give and give and give and give and give, and it will never end for him. And he will keep creating, and he's going to give with an open hand and without strings attached to it. Now, if we remove money from this, because most people can't wrap their heads around that, myself included, so if we remove money from it, you think about yourself as a light or a person who gives love. We a lot of times will not thank a person, will not give love to a person, because we feel like they're going to feel like I owe them something now because I said thank you, like that, or whatever it is, or I won't give enough love to my kids because now maybe they'll think they're done. Like they did enough, and I'm not expecting more of them, or whatever it is, or I won't thank my spouse, or I won't show love, or I won't. If you realize that you're enough, what you are in your essence, in your core, if the Rebbeinu Shalom made you awake this morning, Rabbe Amunasacha, he created you with this morning, it's because you're enough. You can give and give and give and give and give, and you'll always still have. If your concept is that I can always generate for myself. But if your concept is I'm always giving and giving and giving and it's depleting from me, you're never going to get anywhere. So I would yell, you're enough. And if people can believe that about themselves, that they are enough, what wouldn't they get involved in? What wouldn't they help with? What wouldn't they want to be? Because I'm enough for that. I can be there for that. You're right. Maybe I can't help an addict get clean, but I can support him. I could be, and how, by the way, in reality, like fully candid, how much of a difference do we really make more than the supportive, the support system around someone who's suffering with addiction, right? The support system is everything. We're dead in the water. All my fancy footwork is meaningless if they don't have a support system. And all these other people, you could be their support system. You could be their person. You could be their... There's so much that we can do. It's just that we don't feel enough. So I would yell, you're enough.
Beautiful. I think you're enough.
Thank you, my love.
If you can believe that, we're in good shape.
We're in good shape.
We're in very good shape.
We're in good shape.
I love it that we finally got this.
I know, me too. We got to do it again.
That was amazing. I'm totally up for it.
I literally would stay here for another 5 hours just hanging out.
I'm trying to go to the bathroom.
I wish. Yeah, me too. I'll go.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live.